And welcome back to Deck Building. I am your host, Demo, and let's talk about some Wilds of Eldraine spoilers here. And this set, as it's been coming out, you know, it sort of was like Commander Masters, honestly. As the Commander Masters cards were coming out, I was like trying to come up with, should I make a video here? Is there some stuff worth talking about? I didn't think there was anything worth talking about. Kind of the same here. Even though this is all original stuff, there's not a lot of stuff that's getting me excited. I made a video about some of the commanders that have come out already that not really getting me excited. I mean, as a deck builder, again, that's my thing. As a deck builder, I'm not really seeing any commanders here that are getting me super excited. I will also say, though, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of commanders. I know the entire set hasn't been spoiled yet, but we have gotten more than 30 commanders. As far as I know, we've gotten more than 30 commanders in every single set since going back to the start of my channel, like starting with Commander Legends, maybe even before that. So far, I don't think we have that here. So is there a chance that we actually get a set that doesn't actually have 30 or more commanders in it? Again, I'm not complaining. We could have 0 commanders. I would be fine about it. But again, as far as talking about these cards as they're being spoiled, I don't think they're really worth talking about, most of them. You know, I don't want to be one of those guys that I just see some lame, boring commander and then I pretend to be excited, like, oh, wow, look at this crazy new commander. It's so great. Being real phony about how this very unexciting commander is exciting, because I can't be phony, right? That's not my thing. So there is a couple, though. I will just say, though, before I get to some of these spoilers, there's also been some controversy with this set, and I'm like thinking, man, how many in a row is this now? You know? Obviously, there was controversy with Commander Masters with regards to the price and some of the reprints and all that. There was controversy with Lord of the Rings before that, because mostly the Lord of the Rings content and all that. You know, I actually, at the end of the day, thought it was a pretty great set for the Commander format. However you feel about it, there definitely was some controversy. Before that, there was controversy with Merchant of the Machine's Aftermath for obvious reasons. And before that, there was controversy with March of the Machine. So it just seems like every set now we're getting the controversy with this set. And it would be nice to have a set come out where it's just like, hey, here's a great Magic set. You know, might be good for Commander, might not. But nevertheless, here's a good Magic set. 0 controversy. It's been a while since that's happened. Anyway, let's take a look at some cards here. And I'll give you a perfect example. So Bernard Ginger Sculptor. 1 green, white, and a blue. Human Artificer 3/3. Each creature you control that's a food or a golem gets +2/+2 and has trample. So, of course, the food commanders, funny enough, you know, the funny thing here is, I guess we have had a golem commander, sort of. This really is, though, without a doubt. And funny enough, way back in the day, again, before there was a commander for everything, I wanted to make a Golem tribal deck, and I thought Bant Colors was the best for that. I used Ragnar. Okay, funny old commander, I believe from the original Legend set, that just regenerated target creature. That was his ability, and I thought, okay, well, it helps in a creature deck because I can regenerate my creatures. It's not great, but it is something I can use. But I needed a Bant commander for that because I thought Bant was the best because of the splicers mostly, right? If you're making a Golem tribal deck, you want those splicers in there, and of course, here we go. We got the Bant colors. So again, that's one of the reasons I don't love it. Now, I'll just say Ragnar was not a great commander for that deck, but you know, that's one of the things I don't like about we got a commander for everything now, is it just makes it so that you don't have to think, hey, I want to do whatever janky tribe or whatever, you know, and even food, you know, you think about when Gaiome came out, that was like a fringe thing. And a lot of people and this wasn't that long ago, a lot of people were just saying, hey, here's a funny food commander. Let's put all these joke cards almost. A lot of people were just making joke decks with that commander because they wanted to make a food themed deck. Now, making a food we have how many food commanders? You know, it's not even a joke anymore. You can make a very serious, very good food commander deck. Again, a lot of people might see that as a good thing. I'm just like, man, it's almost, you can't even make a janky deck anymore. It's becoming difficult, right? That's kind of a thing that I don't love about it, right? And I'll just say they really, like, one of the things that I don't love about the set is, man, are they going all in on, like, it seems like this entire set is either food or adventures. Like everything Everything is food this, food. Like they really went nuts on the food thing after already doing it an absolute ton in Lord of the Rings. Like I thought they went a little overboard with the whole food thing in Lord of the Rings. And now they're going completely nuts in this set. Again, we got more food commanders, an absolute ton of cards that are dealing with foods. So again, if you had a janky food deck, it ain't janky anymore. I mean, you're going to have to avoid using these new cards. I mean, it's a bit much. I think they went a bit much on the food thing. I mean, you got cards like this Devouring Sugar Maw, which is like a giant donut with gummy worm arms. I mean, okay, I understand it's a theme of the set, but I think they went a little overboard here, maybe. Anyway, let's continue looking at this commander. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it. So we'll stop right there. I'll just say, I've also noticed another thing in this set is we're starting to get a lot of color pie breaks, which I don't love. It almost is becoming not a thing anymore. Like color doesn't even matter. That's another thing that I've been noticing. It's been going for a while now where I'm just like, that doesn't feel like it's in the right color. Because whenever we see that phrase, whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may exit. Like that does not feel like a banned card, but whatever. Okay. If you do create a token that's a copy of that creature. Okay. That feels like a banned thing more so, I guess. If you do create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a 1/1 food golem artifact creature in addition to other types, and it has pay 2, sacrifice this artifact, you gain 3 life. So creating token copies of creatures. I mean, listen, I'll just say, as far as the color pie break thing goes, this ability is almost exact. Like I have a Kinzu deck, very similar ability, right? Except because it's a food and a golem, all of a sudden that makes it Bant colors, right? Nightmare Shepherd, right, is the name of the card that I have in my Kinzu deck that says something, right? That feels like a very black ability. But because we're creating the copy that is a food golem, all of a sudden it's a Bant ability, right? I don't love that. This is going to, I haven't seen all the commanders from this set. It would not surprise me at all if this was the #1 commander from this set. As far as popularity goes, it is like, again, this is another commander that if I saw it come out 4 years ago, I would have been super excited because I can do Golem Tribal. Nice. The food thing wouldn't have made a whole lot of sense because there was like no food support at all. But also the neat, like, this is why I made my Kinzu deck, because of the neat things that you can do here, the neat interaction. I mean, again, the ETB thing, I love that. Bant colors is great for that. The ETB thing works great here. Okay. If you do create a token copy, of course, when you create the token copy, you get an ETB. So my Eternal Witness dies. I get a token copy of it. I get that something else out of my graveyard, right? Except it's a 1/1 food. So all of a sudden my Eternal Witness, like this really, I think they went too far here. My Eternal Witness dies. And, you know, again, sack outlets, you're a little limited, but there is quite a few options here. I sacrifice my Eternal Witness. It comes back as a 1/1 food golem, but immediately gets the +2/+2 and trample. So I'm already getting the bonus of the ETB, but it's also a 3/3 trampling creature, right? So, whew, man, that's pretty good. Like the way I'm building this deck, yeah, you could, and I think this is why it's going to be super popular. You could do the food tribal or golem tribal, right? For sure. But this, to me, again, is another one of those commanders that I've talked about a bunch of them in my 5 Uniques build video, where that bump at the top is just playing like Ratatrabic, right? Perfect example. That's not zombie tribal. I'm building around the last ability. And then the tokens I make just happen to get, by the way, another commander that is black that is doing something very similar. Like this doesn't feel like it's in the right colors outside of the fact that you're making food, right? That's the only part that makes it kind of these colors. But I'm building around the last ability. And then the tokens I make just happen to get that bump. But there will also be a lot of people just doing Golem Tribal with this for sure, because those are great colors for that. This is going to be a really popular one. No doubt. All right, let's talk about the new Korvold. That's right, we got a new Korvold, and I know a lot of people are having like a panic attack when I say that. A lot of people probably having nightmares thinking about the idea of there being a new Korvold, but this one I would say is certainly less powerful than the other one. I mean, you couldn't get much better than the other one. Korvold Gleeful Glutton. Again with the food theme. I think it's like every single commander from this set is like stuffing their face with, like, it's kind of a weird theme. That's all I'll say. 5 black, red, any green, Dragon Noble, of course, 4/4. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each card type among permanents you sacrifice this turn. So we're doing something obviously similar to the other Korvold. Again, this is another thing where we now have several commanders that are doing the it costs less for the stuff you sacrifice. So, okay, whatever. Flying Trample and Haste. Yikes. Whenever Corvold deals combat damage to a player, put X +1/+1 counters on Corvold and draw X cards, where X is the number of permanent types among cards in your graveyard. So, Jesus, this is worse. The other one I think is still better because it's just so easy. As I talked about in, I think, my Archetypes video, it's so easy to sacrifice, like evolve anything, right? But then again, you could do it here as well, right? The spell costs 1 less for each card type that you sacrifice. So again, the evolve, all that works here as well. Again, they're probably trying to do the food thing here, like, hey, sacrifice a food token, but it's super easy to sacrifice a treasure. Obviously, treasure is the best bet here because you can use it to cast your commander. So sacrificing a treasure and a land would be your best bet here. That's the super easy stuff, the stuff that doesn't require mana. Like, I'm just trying to think, like, the ability here is phenomenal, obviously. So my commander connects, I have a land and a creature in my graveyard, right? And you could even do, if someone has been looking for Delirium Tribal, there's a mechanic they have not revisited really at all in any set for commander. We don't have a Delirium Commander, really, although I'm sure there are some people doing it. This could be a Delirium Commander for sure. I don't know how much support you have for that, but it cares about the number of permanent types among cards in your graveyard. It's not exactly like Delirium, but obviously it's similar. So I have a land and a creature in my graveyard. So my commander connects, I put 2 counters on it, and I draw 2 cards immediately because, of course, it has Flying Trample and Haste. I mean, there's almost no way you're not getting in for damage here, right? It doesn't care about amount of damage. You just have to get in for damage. All your opponents would have to have a giant flying blocker in order for you not to get the trigger off of this, right? So the trigger is almost a guarantee here. And again, just a creature and a land in my graveyard, I get 2 counters and I draw 2 cards. That's pretty crazy. This is pretty good. It does cost 8 mana, but obviously it's going to be reduced by quite a bit. I don't know. This is a tough one. I definitely think the other Corvold is better because once you get that Corvold out, you can just really go nuts. Even if your opponents respond with a removal with the other Corvold, you can still go nuts and draw a ton of cards before they even get it off the table. Here, you can go through the hoops of sacrificing a bunch of stuff, get your commander out, attack, someone immediately removes it as soon as you declare attackers, and then you get nothing, and then you got to do it all again. So definitely, I don't think it's as good, but it definitely is really, really good. Obviously, can go in the Corvold decks that you already have in the 99. I think there's going to be some people excited about this one for sure. But at the end of the day, it's just very similar to the other Corvold. It's also just another Jund sort of sacrifice theme, which obviously we've seen that a ton as well. Those poor old Jund commander, like Shattergang Brothers, right? All those old Jund commanders that used to get played all the time. They were real popular in the sacrifice theme of completely. I never see them anymore. And here's another commander that's sort of burying them. I don't have, as I said, a ton of commanders to talk about here. So I am going to talk about a couple of 99 cards that I think are absolute slam dunks in the commander format. So Asinine Antics, is that the name of this card? Am I saying that right? Asinine. I don't ever, I've heard that word 1,000 times, but I've never actually seen it spelled. So is this how you spell that word? I don't think I've ever seen it written down before. I think that's how, am I saying that right? 2 blue sorcery. You may cast Asinine Antics as though it had flash if you pay 2 more to cast it. So that's nice. It certainly is, it's nice to have that on the card. Right? You don't have to do it, but it's nice to have the option. I can cast it with flash if I need to. For each creature your opponents control, all your opponent's creatures, create a cursed roll token attached to that creature. And I briefly touched on the whole roll thing, right? The rolls are in token auras that you put on creatures, right? So it says here, if you control another roll on it, put that one into the graveyard. Enchanted creature is 1/1. So you can kind of decipher from that reminder text what's going on. Again, it's another one of these situations that I don't love where reading the card explains the card. No, not really. This doesn't explain. Like, you're creating and I might be getting this wrong. I think I'm getting it correct here, right? It says cursed roll token and it's attached. So you're creating a token aura, right? So it is going to be an aura enchant creature, right? It says enchanted, again, it's not telling you that it's enchanted creature, but it says enchanted creature on the reminder text, so I assume it's enchanted creature. So it is going to be an aura that is a token, and when you create tokens of auras, you then have the opportunity to slide it onto a creature. The rules with auras are weird. When you blink an aura, same thing. It then comes back into play and you can slide it onto a creature. And you're not targeting, which is important here, right? You know, attaching an aura to a creature gets around hexproof and shroud. That's really important here. So you create a token copy of an aura. If it already has a roll on it, that aura will get destroyed. Or if someone comes along later and creates rolls, right? That's why this card in maybe limited or in standard might not be as good. But in Commander, I think it's phenomenal. So for all my opponent's creatures, I'm creating that roll token. Like, this just seems busted. I don't know. First of all, if I'm an enchantment tribal deck, I just created a ton of enchant. Like, if I have my Eidolon of Blossoms in play, right? That's whenever a enchantment enters the battlefield, I get to draw cards. So how many cards am I drawing here? Like, you're creating them, right? For each of your opponents create, yeah, you're creating, they're yours. So you control these. So I'm just creating a ton of auras all at once. So any enchantment tribal deck is going to love this card because I can draw a bunch of cards off of the, you know, whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield trigger, I'm getting here, right? On top of that, whenever you can, like, I have a sphere of safety, can't be attacked, right? Any number of enchantments you control, that seems really good because now I control 20 more, you know, say my opponents have 10 creatures. Now I just created 10 more enchantments. That seems insane in an enchantment tribal deck. But even outside of that, I could put this in any mono blue deck, and this is a phenomenal way to deal with your opponent's creatures. You're turning all your opponent's creatures into 1/1s. That seems pretty good for 4 mana, right? It's sort of a pseudo board wipe. I mean, they still have their abilities. They just become 1/1 creatures, but don't really got to worry about combat damage. That seems really, really good. And you can also do it at instant speed if you really, really need to, right? So this card seems really good. And again, as I've talked about previously in a video, enchantments are harder to deal with. If I'm against a mono red deck, how are they getting all those? All right, I know someone can just cast a Bane of Progress and they all go away, but what if no one's playing green, right? What if, like, if I'm against a mono red deck and maybe another mono blue deck and a mono black deck or something, right? Bunch of Grixis players, how are they going to get these off their creatures, right? Maybe they can put another roll on them, but are they going to be playing rolls in their commander decks? Maybe, probably not. So this card seems super good, really, really good. So, you know, there are some good things going on in this set. You know, I'm already starting to think about best commanders, best cards, all that. It might be tough. I'll just say best commanders. That's going to be a toughie unless they come up with a whole bunch more. Best cards, I think I could probably get to 10. You know, like, I haven't seen a bunch that I think are slam dunks in the commander format. Usually I do top 10, top 20. And I think there was about a year and a half where every single set that came out, it was top 20 cards from this set for the commander format. And here, again, I think of the last couple sets in a row, I had a hard time getting to 20, and I might as well here. We'll see how it goes. Again, I don't think that's a bad thing. If we have a set that isn't necessarily great for the commander format, I'm totally okay with that. But this is a commander channel. I'm evaluating these cards based on the commander format. I don't care about limited, right? People are like, oh, these cards are for limited or these cards are for stand. I don't care about that. I'm evaluating them based on commander for the commander format. So far, this set's not super great. That's my opinion on the matter. All right. You guys let me know in the comments below what you think. That is it for today, though, and thanks for tuning in.